Hello, my name is Lisa Fergus, and I'm a senior tribal program specialist working in the Office of Child Care on our tribal request for information. In this video, I'll provide a summary of the RFI's background and questions about early childhood workforce, eligible child care providers, comprehensive background check, as well as other areas for comment. As we focus on early childhood workforce, OCC encourages tribal lead agencies to prioritize CCDF funds for the child care and early learning workforce. However, OCC has heard it is often difficult to raise staff wages in tribally operated centers, to keep qualified staff, and to significantly increase provider payment rates for child care subsidies. OCC is interested in hearing what specific challenges, barriers, and solutions exist within tribal child care and early learning programs to increase staff wages, benefits, or provider payment rates for subsidies. What changes or kinds of assistance would enable tribal CCDF programs to better support the tribal child care and early learning workforce? What do you consider as a qualified workforce? And what are some of the tribally defined child care workforce qualifications? What are the challenges or barriers that CCDF requirements present to support and retain qualified CCDF staff? What suggestions do you have to improve the availability as well as ability of tribal lead agencies to support and retain qualified CCDF staff? As we continue to discuss eligible child care providers, CCDF allows parents to use subsidies with different types of child care providers, including center-based child care, family home-based child care, which occurs in the provider's home, and in-home child care, which occurs in the child's home. Relative providers can provide care in both family home-based and in-home child care settings. Providers in center-based care, family home-based, and in-home care are subject to different health and safety requirements than relative providers if the tribal lead agency decides to exempt relatives from all or some of those requirements. For instance, tribal lead agencies can choose to exempt relatives from background checks or only some health and safety trainings, whereas this flexibility is not an option for any non-relative provider in any type of childcare setting. For a child's relative to be eligible as a relative provider through CCDF, the provider must be at least 18 years of age, and the child must be related by marriage, blood, or court decree as the child, grandchild, great-grandchild, sibling if they live in a separate residence, niece, or nephew of the potential relative provider. OCC has heard that the current definition of a relative provider does not align with Indigenous kinship models. This definition matters in that tribal lead agencies can exempt relative providers from some or all health and safety requirements, including standards, annual monitoring and inspections, background checks, and training. OCC is interested in hearing how tribal nations recommend approaching the definition of a relative provider and the health and safety requirements for these providers. What are the impacts of the federal definition of a relative provider on implementing tribal CCDF programs and in meeting the child care needs of your citizens? Do the requirements undermine tribal sovereignty and self-determination? How might the health and safety of children be impacted if there were changes to the CCDF definition of a relative provider? What suggestions do you have for improving these requirements or the CCDF definition of a relative provider, and how would these changes appropriately ensure child safety? Next, we would like to focus on comprehensive background checks. Tribal lead agencies have the same background check requirements as states and territories, but neither the Child Care and Development Block Grant Act nor any other federal laws give tribes the legal authority to conduct all of the required checks. Tribal lead agencies have the flexibility to propose an alternative approach to what is considered a comprehensive background check, but many tribal lead agencies have shared challenges with developing a comprehensive approach that ensures the health and safety of children in care. In addition, OCC has heard of the many challenges in conducting interstate checks, including the time that it takes to establish processes and inability to share the data. These delays in processing background check results have impacted hiring staff quickly. OCC is interested in hearing about challenges and solutions to implementing the required checks or in developing a comprehensive alternative approach. What kinds of changes could be made to the requirements that would ensure the health and safety of Native children, as well as support tribal sovereignty? Are there any supports that would help your program in developing a comprehensive alternative approach to meeting these background check requirements? OCC is also interested in hearing about any other feedback, challenges, or solutions within any of the CCDF requirements, regulations, policies, and processes that tribal CCDF programs, Native children and families, as well as child care providers face. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to your feedback on OCC's Tribal CCDF program. Please visit our Tribal RFI resource page for easy access to the full RFI text, as well as other videos and fact sheets.